Tell your parents to bring it right now. Joe Kuroda, the bar manager, and his 2 bodyguards are surrounding us. My colleague Ken and I entered a certain bar, but it turned out to be a rip-off joint with exorbitant prices. Joe and his men are demanding $50,000. Paying that much money is extremely tough for ordinary company employees like us. Thinking this situation could get bad, I decided to call for help from a certain person. What are you doing to regular people? That person is my father, Hiro Suzuki, who abandoned me when I was little. Seeing Hiro appear, Joe trembles with fear. With the arrival of this reliable helper, I knew I was saved. Joe, who had been acting high and mighty, is about to face hell. My name is Kai Nomo. I'm a 33-year-old man working at an ordinary company. As a member of the sales department in an electronics manufacturing company, I work hard every day. I was abandoned by my parents shortly after I was born. Therefore, until I started elementary school, I grew up as an orphan. Why don't I have a mom or dad? Was I unwanted? I often thought this when I saw families walking together in town, but I never said it out loud. At the facility where I stayed, the other kids were in the same situation. So, I couldn't afford to look unhappy just for myself. Even kids younger than me are trying hard without saying they're lonely. I have to be strong too. That's how I grew up, holding back my true feelings, until I was adopted by foster parents just before entering elementary school. At first, I couldn't get used to the new environment and felt awkward, but both my foster parents treated me with great care. They bought me everything I needed for school and even gave me toys on my birthday each year, for which I am grateful. Even though I didn't know my exact birthday and couldn't meet my real parents, I was happy. Today, we have a birthday cake for you, Kai. We also got you a present now. Blow out the candles. I intend to live every day without regrets for the sake of my foster parents, who treated me as their own child. However, though I never say it out loud, sometimes I want to meet my biological parents. I want to know why they abandoned me and hear their reasons directly. Even though it's a luxurious wish for someone like me who's been given a happy life. When I was in my upper elementary years, I encountered a shocking event. At that time, I reunited with the father who abandoned me. But I'll leave that story for another time. During the rainy season, my colleague and I were walking under umbrellas after finishing a job. It was a deserted road lined with rundown shops, with no one else around. Today's deal took quite a while. I muttered. Ken, my colleague, spoke to me. Yeah, but it couldn't be helped. Our client seemed pretty unwell, so we couldn't rush things. He shrugged slightly while looking at me. We had just finished a meeting with a client company, and it took longer to return to our office because of various issues. Our client's poor health caused delays and complications. When I checked my watch, I saw it was well past lunchtime. As soon as I noticed the time, I became aware of my hunger, and both our stomachs started growling. Ken, I can hear your stomach growling. Look who's talking. I reached into the pocket of my suit, hoping to find some snacks, but all I found was a small personal alarm. I carry it because of an incident I got involved in a long time ago. Even though I'm not a kid, people sometimes mock me for carrying such things. But I feel uneasy without it, so I have no choice. Walking beside me, Ken sighed, then suddenly exclaimed, I know. Let's talk about something interesting. I've been hooked on this new game lately. It's got gangsters and yakuza in it. As he started talking about the game he's obsessed with to distract from our hunger, a voice called out in front of a nearby cafe. It was a woman in her 20s, cleaning a sidewalk sign. Despite her heavy makeup giving her a flashy look, she was quite beautiful. Hey, you two, if you haven't eaten yet, why not stop by our cafe? Ken, who loves women, couldn't ignore the friendly approach of a beautiful woman. That's right, we missed lunch. Ken, with a silly grin, started chatting up the woman. That's tough. Why don't you come eat at my place? She was quite the conversationalist, and soon had Ken wrapped around her finger. Introducing herself as Naomi Kuroda, she then forcefully pulled Ken inside the cafe. This is the most fun conversation I've had in a while. Let's continue inside. I couldn't just leave him behind, so I sighed and followed them in. Upon entering, I felt something strange. It didn't look like a typical cafe. It was unusually dark, and the shelves behind the counter were lined with expensive-looking beer bottles. Moreover, two tough-looking men who looked like yakuza were standing in the back, glancing at us. Ken seemed to notice this as well. Seated at the counter, he scratched his cheek nervously. "Ken, this place seems shady. Maybe we should leave." "Yeah, it doesn't seem like a regular cafe. We might get ripped off." I grabbed the anxious Ken and tried to leave the room. However, a man who seemed to be the manager came and pushed us back into the room. "Hello, I'm Joe Kuroda, the manager. Is this your first time at our bar?" The man named Joe appeared to be in his 50s, with a large build. With a sly grin, Joe looked like he was up to no good. He began explaining the bar's services to us. It became clear that this was not a cafe. Listening to him, it was obvious this bar was RIP off. Drinks were all over $30, and food items cost at least $300 each. Moreover, the place charged by the hour, with costs quickly adding up to hundreds of dollars. As regular office workers, we couldn't afford to pay such amounts. As we broke into a cold sweat, Naomi appeared. Apparently, she had gone to the kitchen after seating Ken. She carried a large platter overflowing with food. It was piled high with fried foods, hamburgers, omelets, spaghetti, and more. Like something out of an eating contest show. "Dad, I brought it like you asked." "Yeah, just put it on the table and get out of here. You're so clumsy you might drop it." It seemed they were father and daughter. Naomi, who had brought the food, was shooed away by Joe and retreated with a disgruntled look. As she walked away, she kept glancing back at us and ended up bumping into another table. Joe chuckled at the sight of his daughter wincing in pain. "She only has her looks going for her. She should just stay in the back. She can't handle any other job anyway." It appeared Naomi was trying to see if there was something else she could do. But her father stopped her due to her clumsiness. Their relationship didn't seem very good. Joe cleared his throat and turned back to us to continue the conversation. "Sorry for the interruption. The food that was just brought out is a special menu, and it costs $50,000. It's actually more, but I'll give you the best price I can." Ken's eyes widened in shock. $50,000. I quickly interjected. "Actually, we're in the middle of work. We need to get back to the office, or our boss might get worried and start looking for us." I knew this could get bad, so I lied. "Our boss isn't that caring, but I thought they wouldn't let us leave otherwise." "That's serious. In that case, I understand." To my surprise, Joe gave up easily, so we decided to leave before he changed his mind. I thought we might be able to get away, but I was wrong. As soon as Ken left his seat, Joe handed me a bill. Of course, they weren't going to let us leave for free. The bill had an outrageous amount on it. "Well then, you owe us $50,000 before you go." To pressure us, the two tough-looking men who had been standing quietly moved towards us. $50,000, not $5,000, so don't get it wrong. Hurry up and pay. Don't try to cheat us out of a single dollar. I couldn't stay silent, so I tried to speak up. "We didn't order this and we didn't eat it. Do we still have to pay?" "Yes, all customers who come to our bar must follow the rules. Even if you didn't eat, you still have to pay." Joe had a grin on his face, but his eyes weren't smiling. It seemed we had walked into a very dangerous place. As I wondered what to do, I looked around the room. I hadn't noticed when we first entered, but there were replicas of swords and guns displayed in the corners. These displays made it clear this was no ordinary bar. The people working here were likely not upstanding citizens. They were the people who live in the shadows of society, trapping others in dirty schemes. Just like the yakuza and gangsters Ken mentioned from his game earlier. Ken, standing beside me, spoke in a trembling voice. "Hey, this is bad, really bad. If we refuse to pay, they might make us disappear. We'll be taken to some remote place and dealt with illegally." In his panic, Ken started voicing his worst fears, making the situation even scarier. I wished he'd quiet down, but considering this was a first for him, his panic was understandable. I've been through something similar before, so I could stay a bit more composed. As I desperately tried to think of a way out, Joe extended his hand, pushing for payment. "If cash is a problem, we do accept cards." He was smiling as he spoke, but his eyes weren't. I knew it wouldn't be good if we refused to pay. I pulled out my wallet and showed him my card. All right, please use this. Wow, I didn't expect you to comply so easily. You're quite understanding. We get some who resist. Our bouncers have to teach them a painful lesson. So I'm glad it didn't come to that. Joe laughed, relieved to avoid trouble, and headed to the register with my card. Before getting my card back, I left the bar without an umbrella. Ken, following me, asked, "Hey, what about your card?" But I just started running. I quickly made a call to a certain someone as I ran, with Ken looking confused beside me. "Is it okay to leave your card? What if they rack up charges?" Ken, "What's more important, your life or money?" Life, obviously, and I wanted to get out of there ASAP. But still. Ken kept glancing back at the bar. I understood that money was important, but that place was seriously bad news. I can't explain it well, but Joe gives off the same vibe as my other father. "Let's move to a crowded place. Then we can call a taxi and head back to the office. It's too dangerous to walk around here." Ken seemed unable to understand my calm demeanor. He stared at me, puzzled. "Why are you so calm?" I was about to explain when Joe caught up to us. He had my card in his large hand. "Hey, this card is fake. You tried to trick me." Apparently, Joe had discovered the truth about the card I gave him. It was a fake card I had brought along because of rumors about scam bars in the area. Joe's previously polite demeanor vanished as he shouted angrily. He moved to block our path, and soon the two tough-looking men caught up and surrounded us. "We're yakuza. If you don't want to get hurt, you'd better behave." Exactly, and Joe is from the same world as us. Hearing this, I managed to stay calm, but Ken was visibly trembling. "Sorry, Kai. I got us into this mess by following that beautiful woman into this shady place." The fact that he's apologizing shows he's a good guy. I couldn't just abandon him and run. $50,000. Call someone to pay up right now. All right, I'll call my father. This better not be another lie. Joe grabbed my collar, his eyes filled with suspicion. I knew I couldn't look away, so I stared straight back at him. "My father can easily get that much money." Joe looked skeptical for a moment, but then seemed to recall his anger from being tricked. He glanced at Ken and warned him, "Don't even think about running." Seeing this, the two bodyguards started shouting at us. "Tell your parents to bring the money right now." I've already informed them. Just after I activated the personal alarm in my pocket, a man called out to us. It was exactly 5 minutes after we had fled the scam bar. The man seemed to have located us by the sound of the alarm. I had called for help earlier, and luckily, he arrived in time. "Hey, what are you doing to these regular folks?" The man addressed Joe in a slow, deep voice that carried a menacing tone. "Captain." Hearing this, Joe's eyes widened in shock, and his voice trembled. I stared at the man in his 50s who stood protectively in front of us. He still didn't look anything like an ordinary person. His face, with its unkempt beard and scars, exuded a cold and ruthless aura. His piercing gaze was so intense it could make a weaker person faint just by looking at him. He looked like the kind of man who would kick a kitten or puppy without a second thought. The man, with his commanding presence, was Hiro Suzuki. He was the leader of the Suzuki gang, which included dozens of yakuza members. And he was also the father who abandoned me. Hiro stared intently at Joe as he spoke. "Are you Joe? There's been talk about you lately. You're running scams in this area and extorting money from regular people. Didn't I tell you not to cause trouble and don't target civilians? That's basic common sense." Ken muttered under his breath, just loud enough for me to hear. "An old yakuza guy is lecturing us about common sense and helping us out. What is this? Am I dreaming? Did I step into the world of the game I've been playing?" Ken kept pinching his cheeks, trying to figure out if this was real. "No, it's real," I reassured him. I understood his confusion. Most people would be bewildered in his situation. But this was my second time dealing with the yakuza, so I was somewhat used to it. "I'm sorry, boss. Our bar's been struggling, and we don't have the money to pay the gang. I have a daughter, and I was desperate to make ends meet." As Joe spoke, Naomi came running from a distance. "Dad, your face is so pale. What happened? Did these people do something to you?" She clung to Joe's arm, looking worried. Despite being mocked by Joe earlier, it seemed she still wanted to protect her father. But Joe shoved her away. Get lost. I'm dealing with something serious right now. You never know how to read the room, you useless brat. Joe, yelling loudly, even raised his hand to hit Naomi, who was just worried about him. I didn't have a great impression of her, but no parent should ever do that to their child. Hiro must have felt the same because he grabbed Joe's arm. Disappointment was written all over Hiro's face. I can't believe someone like you is part of my gang. Blaming others for your foolish actions and raising your hand against your child. I'm deeply disappointed. Hearing this, Joe let out a strangled cry and started trembling. First, apologize for causing trouble to innocent people. Hiro pointed his gaze at us. Joe, forced to apologize, acted in less than a second, dropping to his knees. I'm so sorry. I won't take any money. We won't bother you again. Seeing this, I quickly responded to Joe. Understood. We didn't realize the rules of your establishment when we entered. I didn't actually believe we were at fault, but people like Joe often value their pride. I thought it best to let him save face to smooth things over. Ken, you should say something too. Okay. Ken was too flustered to know what to say. So, I spoke for him. Ken also forgives you. Let's put this behind us. Joe, looking relieved, seemed to think he had escaped a dire situation. Having angered the head of his organization, he must have been terrified. He took a deep breath, greeted Hiro, and quickly left. Naomi followed closely behind her father. After they left, I turned to Hiro, both the head of the Suzuki gang and my father. Thank you, you saved us. The tense atmosphere around us eased. Despite his stern face, Hiro softened his expression as he looked at me. Sorry, Kai. My guys caused you trouble, but you shouldn't have walked into a place like that so carelessly. Blame Ken here. He got us into this mess by following a pretty girl into a dangerous place. Wait, are you throwing me under the bus with this scary guy? So you put my son Kai in danger. That's not something I can overlook. Ken, terrified by Hiro's glare, stammered out an apology. I'm sorry for putting your son in danger. But wait, what's your relationship with Kai? You have different last names. Ken didn't understand our relationship. While apologizing, he quickly became confused. I explained Hiro's name and my past to him. Ken, this is Hiro Suzuki. I'm his son, but not officially. I was abandoned as an orphan, and when I was about to start elementary school, I was adopted by the Kai family. Hearing this heavy story out of nowhere, Ken froze in shock. It's not something you hear in everyday life. And I understood how he felt. How about we move to a side alley? Even though it's a rainy day and not many people are around, standing here together might attract attention. It's not good to be seen with yakuza if you want to live a normal life. You're right. Come on, Ken. Let's go. I looked around, relieved to see no one was nearby. But if someone did see us, strange rumors could start. We moved to a discreet alley and continued talking. As we walked, Hiro noticed our suits and took out his phone to make a call. I need a car brought around. Make sure it doesn't look like it's from the gang. I don't want to get attention this time. After hanging up, he looked at me with concern. You should be living a peaceful life, but you keep getting caught up in these dangerous situations. It's better to keep our connection hidden. From his perspective, I must seem like a trouble magnet. It's understandable, considering he left me to avoid involving me in gang matters, yet I've been involved in kidnapping and scam incidents. Hiro spoke to me again. I've arranged for a car that doesn't look like it's from the gang. Take it back to the office. You don't want your boss to get mad for being late. Thank you, honestly. This really helps. I needed to get back to the office, but the recent events had left me exhausted. There was still a long way to go, and walking back would be tough. This area doesn't have many buses or trains, so walking is usually the only option. So, I decided to accept Hiro's offer. Ken, who seemed to have the same thought, looked relieved. He then asked me about the earlier conversation. Kai, you're really Hiro's son, right? Why do you live in different homes? I answered his question carefully. As you saw earlier, Hiro is a yakuza and the head of the Suzuki gang. He often gets involved in dangerous situations. He thought it was best to let me go to keep me safe. Ken looked at me with a complicated expression, unsure of what to say. When I found out the truth as a teenager, I was shocked too. Having a child and then giving them up seemed unthinkable. But I realized Hiro's love was genuine, so I could interact with him normally. Honestly, I have mixed feelings, but I don't resent Hiro. When I was in the upper grades of elementary school, I got caught in a kidnapping incident. He risked his life to save me. He got that scar on his face because of it. Wait, Hiro's scar isn't from a gang war. Ken stared at Hiro's face in amazement before quickly looking away. Hiro didn't seem offended. In fact, he looked proud, perhaps viewing the scar as an honorable wound from protecting his son. I see. That's why you always carry a personal alarm. Makes sense now. Ken muttered, recalling the alarm I sounded when we were escaping from Joe. Hiro spoke warmly to Ken. Ken, please take care of my son. Even knowing about Kai's complicated family background, I hope you'll remain his friend. And please, be careful to avoid trouble like today. Yes, of course. Thank you. I'm glad someone as bright as you is Kai's colleague. And please keep my connection to him a secret. I want him to live a peaceful life, away from conflict. I understand. Ken nodded awkwardly but earnestly, clearly moved by Hiro's sincerity. The atmosphere softened, but it was abruptly shattered by Naomi, who had returned with a group of men. These are the guys. They're the ones who gave my dad trouble. We paid good money, so make sure you beat them up. Did Naomi hire local thugs with money? A group of rough-looking men surrounded us, licking their lips in anticipation. Even though we had resolved the situation peacefully, we were now being dragged into another mess. But Hiro stepped forward to shield us. Ken, step back. I'll handle these guys. As the gang leader, Hiro had dealt with many troublesome situations before. These thugs were no match for him. Hiro swiftly demonstrated his capabilities, and within moments, the thugs were beaten and fled in fear. We didn't know he was this strong. Screw this. Keep your money. We're out of here. In less than a minute, they gave up, making fools of themselves. Naomi, left alone, stood frozen in shock. Hiro approached her. As much as I disliked her actions, I couldn't bear to see her hurt, so I spoke up. She just forced Ken into the bar. He could have refused more firmly. Can we let this slide for now? Hiro looked at me and murmured, You really should live in a peaceful society. Then turned to Naomi. All right, I'll let you off this time. Now get out of here, young lady. However, Naomi glared at us, showing she was quite a bold woman. Don't act all noble. The world is full of cold people. My mom left my dad and me. My friends stopped talking to me when they found out about the gang, and my boyfriend only dated me for the gang's influence. What's your real motive? Naomi seemed unable to believe in genuine kindness or goodwill. Hearing her words left me with a complicated feeling. Although I was upset about how she had lured Ken into the bar, I couldn't completely hate her after hearing her story. Children can't choose the circumstances they're born into. Seeing her suffer because of her environment made my desire for revenge fade. I'm not smart, so I try to help my dad by using others' strength. Why can't anything go right? With that, Naomi broke into tears. Hiro sighed and reached out to her. I thought he might hit her, but he didn't. Instead, he placed his hand on her head and gently patted her, whispering, Sorry for scaring you. My gang is strict about rules, but we don't blame kids for their parents' actions. The bad guys who troubled your beloved dad will leave immediately. With that, he turned his back to Naomi. Watching Hiro walk away, I noticed that Naomi's cheeks seemed to blush slightly. Let's wait for the car somewhere else. I need to make a call. Following Hiro's lead, we moved to another alley. Soon, a car arranged by Hiro arrived, and Ken and I headed back to the office. Our late return was questioned by the manager, but when I explained we had run into trouble with some thugs, he quickly understood. Apparently, Hiro had called the office earlier, saying, Your employees are being harassed by some delinquents. Since then, we've made it a point to avoid that area to stay out of trouble. However, Naomi started showing up around Hiro more often. It wasn't for revenge, but because she simply wanted to see him. He may look rough, but his hidden warmth and loneliness are irresistible. If he's single, I'm going to go for it. She even carries homemade chocolates and scarves to give to him. Joe, her father, tries to stop her, pale with worry, but it doesn't seem to have much effect. A woman who is in love determination is boundless. One day, while relaxing at home on my day off, I received a call from Hiro. It was about my mother. Perhaps the recent events with the scam bar and Naomi had prompted him to finally open up. Until now, he had been tight-lipped, but he seemed ready to share the details. The truth is, your mother was very sick and was given only a few years to live. She loved me, and out of pity, we got married. But we never expected to have a child since the doctors said it would be difficult for her. Everything he told me was shocking. She gave birth to 2 sons before she passed away. You have a younger brother. I never imagined I had a long-lost brother. I was stunned by each revelation. My younger son had the same rare blood type as me. I couldn't bear to let him go, especially considering the risks if he got hurt. He was also very weak, so it was better for him to stay with us where we had the resources to care for him. And how is he now? He's doing well. I gave him a pretty calm-sounding name, but like you, he turned out to be the opposite. He's now causing trouble as a member of the gang. Knowing my brother was doing well brought me an unexpected sense of relief. Although part of me couldn't help but think about how I was abandoned, I was glad he was okay. But having been saved by Hiro recently, I felt his love for me even more. Thank you for telling me all this. Can I ask you one more thing? Taking this opportunity, I asked something that had been on my mind. My name, Kai, was written in marker on the swaddling clothes when I was found at the orphanage. Was that you? Yes, it was me. I hoped you'd grow up strong and healthy, unlike your mother. Feeling the genuine parental love behind his words, my heart warmed a little. Living nearby but with a parent who didn't care, like Joe, made me realize how lucky I was. Joe's troubles worsened after he caused problems for civilians, against the gang leader's policies. He faced harassment from other gang members, and Naomi, disillusioned, cut ties with him and started living on her own. She had tried to connect with Hiro, but she realized she just sees him as an ideal father figure, and it was just an illusion. Determined to find a place where she was truly needed, she left town. She seemed to be doing well wherever she went, and she stopped appearing around us. As for us, nothing much has changed. Ken and I continue doing our regular jobs every day. Sometimes on my days off, I go to Ken's place, and we play that game together. Thankfully, nothing unsettling has happened around us. Hey, that's not fair. Using items like that, my character can only use brass knuckles. If you don't use what you have, it's pointless. Oh, looks like the boss is joining my battle as an ally. He's always helping me out. Damn, I lost again. Hiro and his younger son seem to be doing well enough too. He worries excessively whenever we catch up, but it's comforting. What lies before me is an ordinary, uneventful life, yet it is invaluable. I realized how precious this peaceful life given by my parents is and decided to cherish it always.